Merandi, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Because there is an event taking place both here in Rhode Island tomorrow and all across the country. This is the Don't Punish the Pain rally. Now, this is taking a look at opioid use from the patient perspective and what's happened since the CDC has issued new regulations to doctors. Now the patients are speaking up who experience pain, need pain management, and this is coming from their perspective. So Claudia, tell us your story about being involved with this rally.
So back in November, I decided that as a chronic pain patient, I needed to do something for the chronic pain patients across the state. So I decided, let's do a nationwide rally. We started with 5, now we have thousands and thousands, and tomorrow in each state they're going to be rallying at their capital. What happened was when the CDC instituted guidelines back in 2016, the guidelines greatly affected pain patients. And we have 100 million chronic pain patients that need opioids, which has now become a vulgar 4-letter word. But the fact of the matter is these people have never jeopardized a medication and they're being penalized. What's happening in Rhode Island, across the country, primary care physicians will no longer treat your chronic pain. They have to go to pain management centers, which many times in the southern states they don't exist. So the CDC, while they're trying to address one epidemic, they've created another. And we're in a bad place. We need our senators to, come forward, support the chronic pain patients. Everybody knows somebody who's sick, who's got cancer, unfortunately. And the list just goes on and on with horrible illnesses that they're being neglected, especially our veterans.
And so as you said, you talk about opioids and the opioid crisis, again, being seen as that 4-letter word. But as you mentioned, plenty of responsible patients and usage of it, and the CDC, as you've mentioned, has gone, as you think, too far.
Right.
So do the regulations need to be revisited? I mean, what's the ultimate hope? You're raising awareness around this, saying there's chronic pain patients that need this to be addressed.
Right.
Is the hope that, again, it happens at that federal level, saying, well, let's take a step back, and I'm going to bring you a step over here, too, just to say, hey, look, these are the voices that also need to be heard in this conversation.
Right.
What's your ultimate hope that CDC and doctors, can move forward with this now?
Right. Well, I don't think the CDC under this administration is going to say, oops, sorry, we made a mistake. But I think what needs to be addressed, especially, I want to protect Rhode Island. I've suffered from severe Crohn's disease 4 years ago. I lived in a hospital. Pain management was introduced into my life. I'm an advocate. I'm an author. I'm a fitness competitor. We need to tailor the guidelines. We need to back our primary care physicians. Say, look, it's okay. Treat those patients with compassion. When your patient comes out of surgery, don't make them suffer. Don't make them howl. Pain does kill. What's going to happen? They're going to hit the streets. And, they're desperate. I've got people with hydrocephalus. They're suffering horribly. We need a federal solution. Protect your state. I always tell people, reach out to your senators. But more importantly, we need the DEA to back off a little. They've created such a fear in the medical community, and also we don't have enough pain medication, IV. If we were to have a horrible catastrophic event, we simply don't have enough medication because of the limitations. They forced manufacturers to stop by 25%. We're not in a good place.
So talk with us a little bit about the event tomorrow, the nuts and bolts, time, information, things that people who are watching right now, who this might resonate with. We'll have links up as well when we publish this piece, but just let folks know a little bit more about tomorrow.
Okay, so tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 48 states. Unfortunately, I couldn't address Alaska and Hawaii. If you go to the Don't Punish Pain page on Facebook, you can find your flyer, head to your state's capital. Everybody will be rallying. Some will be rallying all day. They're going to have, it's a public information session in certain states. At Rhode Island, at the State House tomorrow from 12 to 2, I'm hosting the New England rally for Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut. So it's a place where we can gather, support one another, and it's step one in a process that's going to take years. So that's where we are tomorrow, and I hope it's the beginning of a change.
raising the awareness. Have you had conversations with the offices of the federal delegation?
Well, I've met with Senator Whitehouse's office. They've been wonderful to work with, and Senator Whitehouse would make a statement, but he wants a solution. I don't have a solution. Palliative care would be a great solution. What's interesting is the Human Rights Watch Commission is now doing an investigation, so we know there's a problem. For human rights to intervene, they've been bombarded. Thousands and thousands and thousands of stories have resonated, so much so that they've opened up an investigation. Their grants for 6 months, and they're addressing it. So nobody really wants to step forward because it's that horrible opioid vulgar word.
Well, I appreciate your coming in today to provide this perspective, because it hasn't really, you're in the community, you know it, but for the general public, again, hearing about this opioid crisis has to know that there's an other side to this, and these are patients who use opioids, use them responsibly. And as you mentioned too, if they can't get them, the unfortunate reality of going to alternative sources, and you said going to the streets.
Oh yeah, many already have, sadly, in the southern states. The southern states have been hit horribly, and people are scrambling, and they reach out, where can I go for pain management, and my doctor won't help me. It's a horrible, it's almost, we refer to it as medical manslaughter, because the government has created this problem, and with all of these guidelines, the overdosing rate has only dropped slightly, maybe by 2%. Prohibition is not the answer. Prohibition will never be the answer. There will always be overdosing with alcohol, with nicotine, with ice cream. I mean, if we're gonna, let's outlaw, let's go after the nicotine. Let's go after chocolate ice cream. Let's put a Band-Aid on everything. So I empathize with all those who have lost a loved one to the illicit fentanyl epidemic. I've got children, nobody wants their child to, or an adult to get hooked on pain medication. But the fact is, people who were born with an illness such as mine rely on opioids to wake up and contribute to society. And I like to pay it forward, because I'm not in the hospital any longer. I lived 20 years in the hospital, so we just can't get rid of sick people because they're a burden on the community. You know, to rob people of their ability to live a life with dignity, it's vile behavior.
Well, I appreciate your taking the time to both come in here, provide the perspective, and give some information about tomorrow's event taking place here in Rhode Island and around the country. We'll provide more information and links that you can read on GoLocalProp.com. Claudia Merandi, thank you so much for taking the time to come in. I'll let you go around the corner.
Great.
And we'll be right back with our next guest here
Thank you.
in the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center.